The Dormancy Protocol, DR. Sarah Chen had always dreaded October 15th, the day when the rooting season officially began. Like every human on Earth, she would soon enter the biological hibernation that had defined human existence for as long as recorded history. Her feet would grow root-like extensions into the ground, her skin would develop a protective bark-like coating, and her consciousness would fade into the dreamless sleep that lasted until the spring thaw. But this year was different. Sarah, a bioanthropologist studying ancient human migration patterns, had discovered something that challenged everything humanity believed about their nature. Hidden in recently declassified government archives, she found evidence that humans hadn't always been seasonal hibernators tied to specific locations during winter months. The discovery began with satellite images from the 1970s showing massive population movements that officially never happened. According to historical records, humans had always rooted for winter in the same locations where their ancestors had hibernated for millennia. But these images showed millions of people moving across continents just weeks before winter rooting seasons, suggesting that human mobility during cold months was once not just possible, but common. Sarah's investigation deepened when she analyzed DNA samples from pre-1980 human remains. The genetic markers for seasonal rooting, which every modern human possessed, were completely absent in older specimens. Even more disturbing, the rooting genes appeared to have been artificially inserted into the human genome, not evolved naturally over time. Her research partner, Dr. Marcus Webb, initially dismissed her findings as contaminated samples or measurement errors, but when Sarah showed him biochemical analysis of the rooting compounds that humans produced each autumn, he went silent. The molecular structure wasn't biological at all, it was synthetic, designed with nanotechnology that shouldn't have existed before the 1980s. Sarah, if what you're suggesting is true, Marcus whispered, then human hibernation isn't evolution, it's engineering. The breakthrough came when Sarah discovered that the global implementation of human rooting had coincided exactly with the first reports of climate change acceleration. Every winter, when humans entered dormancy, global carbon emissions dropped by 90%. Human hibernation wasn't just controlling population movement, it was controlling planetary climate patterns. But the most shocking revelation awaited in classified files Sarah obtained through a contact at the Environmental Protection Agency. The Dormancy Protocol, as it was officially known, had been implemented by a secretive international consortium calling itself the Planetary Preservation Initiative. The program was designed to prevent human extinction by forcing the species into seasonal hibernation, dramatically reducing resource consumption and environmental impact. The conspiracy went deeper than Sarah had imagined. The rooting process wasn't just making humans dormant, it was collecting data. Every winter, as billions of humans lay connected to the Earth through their root systems, their neural patterns were being monitored and analyzed by a vast underground network of sensors. Humanity was unknowingly participating in the largest psychological research project in history. Sarah's investigation led her to Dr. Elena Rodriguez, one of the original architects of the Dormancy Protocol. Now in her 80s, Rodriguez agreed to meet Sarah at a secure location, but her revelations were more terrifying than Sarah had anticipated. You have to understand, Rodriguez explained, by 1975, our climate models showed human extinction within 50 years. We had to act. The rooting program was our only option to save the species. But you're controlling our entire way of life, Sarah protested. We're not even fully human anymore. Rodriguez's eyes filled with regret. Sarah, the truth is worse than you realize. The Dormancy Protocol was never meant to be permanent. It was supposed to last only until we developed sustainable technology. But something went wrong with the genetic modifications. Humans can no longer survive without the winter rooting cycle. We accidentally made ourselves dependent on the very system designed to save us. As autumn approached and Sarah felt the familiar biological urges to find her rooting spot, she faced an impossible choice. She had developed a potential genetic therapy that could reverse the dormancy modifications, but testing it would require her to resist the rooting process, something no human had attempted in decades. The night before rooting day, Sarah made her decision. Instead of seeking her assigned hibernation location, she injected herself with the experimental therapy and prepared to fight her own biology. The pain was excruciating as her body demanded root formation while her modified cells rejected the dormancy signals. But as Sarah struggled through the most intense biological crisis of her life, she discovered something that changed everything. The underground sensor network activated early, detecting her resistance to the rooting protocol. Instead of the expected alarm responses, the system sent her a message that had been waiting 40 years for someone to discover it. The message was from the future. The Planetary Preservation Initiative hadn't been run by humans from the 1970s at all. It had been controlled by humanity's descendants from the 22nd century, who had traveled back in time to prevent their own timeline from occurring. In their original history, human extinction had indeed happened by 2025, but not from climate change. It had come from a species-wide genetic collapse caused by uncontrolled manipulation of human DNA. The time travelers had realized that only by forcing humanity into a controlled hibernation cycle could they prevent the genetic experimentation that would ultimately destroy the species. The dormancy protocol was a temporal quarantine, designed to keep humans genetically stable until they naturally developed the wisdom to handle their own evolution responsibly. But Sarah's breakthrough had created a paradox. By developing the ability to reverse the dormancy modifications, she had proven that humanity was ready to take control of their own genetic destiny. The sensors detected this readiness and began transmitting new instructions from the future. As winter arrived and Sarah remained conscious for the first time in her adult life, she realized that her choice had triggered the end of the dormancy protocol. Around the world, other humans would soon begin questioning their seasonal hibernation. The genetic locks that had protected humanity for decades were about to be released. Sarah looked out at the snow-covered landscape that no human had consciously experienced in 50 years. She was witnessing the return of human agency, but she was also terrifying herself with the responsibility that came with it. Humanity was about to regain the freedom to move, to explore, and to change. The question was whether they had learned enough during their enforced hibernation to handle that freedom without destroying themselves again. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It's easy for you, and this will help me grow the channel so I can release new videos.